This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of Nasdaq Live. So much big news coming out of the United States. So many dollars, in fact over $1 trillion being spent by the government to try and resuscitate that economy that just doesn't seem to be able to shake its blues away. Let's start with our headlines, and the first headline is about Barack Obama, the new US Pres of the United States, who has pledged $275 billion to a program that will cut mortgage payments for as many as 9 million struggling homeowners and expand the role of Fannie and Freddie in curbing record foreclosures. Obama tries to resuscitate the housing market in the US. After a huge slump in Wall Street yesterday, a bit of positivity coming in today for the US markets. The Nasdaq was up about 1% in trading, which is a welcome relief after a couple of days of tough losses on the street. And if you thought the woes of the auto industries are over, think again. The big three automakers, including Rick Wagoner, asked for another $17 billion of bailout money to go with the original $17 billion that they had gotten. So Barack Obama sure has an economic challenge on his hands. He has announced a $780+ billion stimulus package. In addition, $700 billion are for the financial services industry's rescue and recovery plan, and now $275 billion more for housing in the United States. So much money being spent. What's going to happen to the deficit? Well, that seems to be a secondary concern, because a way to spur those markets is important. Right now, the plan is to serve 5 million homeowners in terms of refinancing their conforming loans, and the loans should be owned or guaranteed by the two major institutions, Fannie and Freddie, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and the government has decided to spend $200 billion of preferred stock in these housing companies. Another $75 billion will go to those companies that help in reducing the mortgage to 31% of monthly income for the typical borrower. The companies that service mortgages will get $1,000 for every loan modified. So a huge amount of money, another $275 billion being allocated by the government to help housing. Now that forms the third of Barack Obama's three-pronged strategy: stimulus package, financial services bailout, and now housing bailout. Let's get a check now on how Wall Street is doing with news that has just come in. Yesterday, a sea of red for Wall Street. The market's down almost 4%. All these indices were suffering, and today a bit of a revival for Wall Street. Nasdaq up 0.6%, Dow Jones also trading positive 0.3%, and so is the S&P 500. About 2.5 hours of trading have taken place. Barack Obama is to officially announce this new housing plan in just a bit, but the market is today seeing a better day than yesterday. The financial services industry still mainly decline. Bank of America, which has been faring the worst of all the stocks lately, has also down about 3%. AIG down 2.5%. Citigroup, another behemoth bank, is also down about 2% for the day, but JP Morgan about flat, up 0.18% in trading today. Let's continue that roundup of how the US stocks are trading live here. The US technology space is about 3.5% up for Intel, Cisco Systems, as well as Google up over 2%, and Microsoft is up about 1.6%. So fairly good day right now for the United States technology sector. Okay, let's talk about the technology sector, but move over to Indian stocks. American depository receipts of the four major tech companies, Patni and Infosys, either a little bit of a positive trend, and actually some news is going to come out on these companies in the near future. Wipro, though, down about 0.3% for the day. How about Satyam, a stock that we've been tracking both in the US and in India? Actually, it's up about 1.7%. Now, positive news for Satyam, as one of the key board members today said that this company might be ready to be sold in as early as 2 weeks. Also, the employee morale has been heartening, as well as some of the customers who have been reassured and lines of credit open opening for Satyam. So good news today for Satyam, but of course big news coming out of the United States of America. Indeed, a unique feature of this show is we get to talk to a guest live all the way from the United States. Joining us today is Mr. Anu Sharma, who is the Managing Director of the Nasdaq Intelligence Desk. Anu, welcome to the show once again. We're just watching with bated breath over $1.5 trillion allocated by the government to resuscitate that ailing U.S. economy. What are your thoughts right now on the latest development, the new housing plan as it's been unveiled by Barack Obama?
Well, I think the general sentiment across Wall Street is that they don't like it. The big concern has been since the beginning of the year and since President Obama has come into office is, can you borrow your way to prosperity? And there's a lot of questions about that. Obviously, you're going to get people debating both sides of the argument, saying that we need the stimulus package as well as aid for the housing. On the flip side, people will say, well, why wouldn't you credit some of the new home buyers because you want spending to pick up and purchase of new homes rather than just helping some of the current homeowners. But overall, Wall Street doesn't like it. Main Street may like it. One of the things that we've noticed going into the end of last year was whenever you saw President Bush or Hank Paulson speak, the market really did not do so well. And we saw the same situations so far whenever we see President Obama speak or Tim Geithner speak. The market does not like it and sells off as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts once we start getting some commentary coming out of President Obama.
Anu, you make an interesting point. You talk about why not assist housing starts versus existing homeowners. The numbers that have come out for housing starts today have been the worst on record. In fact, January housing starts were down 17% to record lows of 466,000. Can we get your perspective on this number too? What can be done again to revive new housing in the United States?
I think one of the things that would have helped, which was actually taken out of the stimulus package, was a tax credit for home buyers, not just first-time buyers, but even second-time buyers and third-time buyers, which was a $15,000 tax credit, and that was taken out of the stimulus bill. So that's where some of the questions and concerns rise on, are we really helping potential home buyers? Because prices will deteriorate even more. Some are predicting that you may have another 30 to 40%, and I've heard as high as 50% decline in home prices over the next year or so. So these are some opportunities that are really building up for new buyers. We have to remember 90% of homeowners are still paying their mortgages. It's the 10% that everybody's really keeping an eye on. But you want to be able to see some of the people that can afford to buy these houses now get the credit, and that's going to be another problem, is getting the credit flowing.
Indeed, and with such price reductions, it's still amazing that housing starts to record lows. Now, one of the announcements made in this new housing plan by Barack Obama is an assistance for lenders that are able to bring mortgage payments down to 38% of a typical consumer's monthly income. Now, the government will go ahead and subsidize that amount to bring it down to 31% of monthly income. Do you feel this is an interesting or a good strategy by the government?
It's going to be a controversial strategy for sure. Many people don't like government to subsidize any kind of programs and would prefer the free markets to determine where the prices should fall. You have to remember, for every homeowner that goes into foreclosure, there will be people looking to buy a very inexpensive house, and will have that opportunity to do so. One of the concerns is keeping home prices high. Why would anyone want to keep home prices high when a declining housing market will bring in buyers, whereas prices remaining at higher levels would not? So there is a definite debate going on with the two sides, but it's hard to determine which would win out at this point.
Okay, one more question, just keeping on housing, because this is a big announcement. $200 billion now have been pledged by the government in treasuries for the Treasury to buy preferred stock of big Fannie and Freddie. Of course, these are big and controversial organizations that have served home lending in the past. Do you feel again that this is a wise strategy, or what are your views on the potential for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in the future?
Well, I think they really need to be assessed in terms of how they're going to use the money and how they're going to really back these loans, because many will say they're the cause or one of the major causes for the issues that we have today. So the question is, will their practices change, and will they be more firmer in terms of who they lend to, and will they be regulated better? That's been the big questions, because deregulation really hurt over the past 10 to 15 years, and so regulation is going to be a big question.
Indeed, a big question always in India is, if you let large bureaucratic organizations run these change programs, is that the best way to go? But it remains to be seen how Fannie and Freddie do with this cash and this money infusion. Let's talk a little bit about the markets, Anu. Yesterday, a huge amount of bleeding on Wall Street. The indices down almost 4%. And today, now some of that negativity seems to have been abated. But your comments on what's been happening over the past couple of weeks in the U.S. markets and the stock markets in particular?
This market has absolutely no confidence. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion around the Tim Geithner plan. There was speculation that there was going to be this bad bank format, and that didn't really come about. When he had his press conference, he really didn't give much information. So overall, this marketplace has lost confidence in this government at this point. Again, now that could be different than what Main Street feels, because if you look at poll ratings, there's still a high approval rate for the administration. So obviously what Wall Street thinks and what Main Street thinks is slightly different at this time. But overall, what Wall Street sees, they do not like in terms of what it's going to do for business, and they don't like what it's going to do for the valuation of the dollar. The dollar could continue to weaken if we take out $1.5 trillion worth of debt and owe it all to China. There's going to be big concerns on the valuation of the dollar, and a weak dollar is never a good thing for the economy.
Well, the dollar, fortunately for the United States, hasn't been that weak compared to the rupee, which is now scaled to record lows. 50 rupees now to a dollar. Travel to the US for us will be expensive, and for you it might be a little cheaper here to India. Anu Sharma, thank you so much for joining us here on Nasdaq Live. We hope to speak to you once again. With that, we're going to take a short break, but stay with us. More interesting developments, including Barack Obama on the new housing plan, coming up for you. Don't go anywhere.
Nasdaq Live, brought to you by MVL, because life's all about being happy, developing real estate across India. All new city, enjoy your challenges. And Cadbury Bonville Fine Dark Chocolate. You don't buy a Bonville, you earn it.
सेफ्टी है तो सब हीरो।
Bajaj Allianz के safe plans. SMS safe to 56070.
How's Rohit? Wild Rohit. He's an angel now. सिखा दिया to be polite, to be responsible, and punctual. What an angel.
The all-new Ford Icon Duratorq Diesel. Sensible भी, crazy भी.
Strong coffee?
आपको लगता है रिटायर होने पे जिंदगी ऐसी ही होगी?
क्यों ना?
पर ऐसा ना हुआ तो बिरला सन लाइफ इंश्योरेंस के रिटायरमेंट सॉल्यूशंस, ताकि महंगाई चाहे बढ़ती रहे, आप कल भी जिए आज की तरह।
एक और कॉफी?
What makes an athlete a champion? They balance power and weight effortlessly. They know that every gram less matters when striving for peak performance. The track is their second nature. So what makes them rise above the rest? Passion. The new BMW 3 Series sedan, engineered in motion.
दादी माँ, आशीर्वाद दीजिए।
सदा सुखी रहो के लिए डायल 1, भगवान तुझे लंबी उम्र दे के लिए डायल 2, भगवान तुझे चांद सी दुल्हन दे के लिए डायल 3।
डायल 3?
आप कतार में हैं।
Thankfully, technology will never change relationships. At Bank of Baroda, state of the art, straight from the heart.
Is diamond a good investment? You know, as diamond prices have over the past years been